to Bloody Good Horror, covering the best and worst of the horror genre since Halloween 2007. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello everybody and welcome to another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric and I'll be your host for this evening, where we will be discussing Yakuza Apocalypse, Casey's staff pick for 2016.
Excellent pronunciation.
Thank you. I'm the editor-in-chief over at bloodygoodhorror.com. My name's Eric. Joining me tonight, first up, he's the web beaver at Bloody Good Horror. He builds little beaver dams on the internet. His name's Mark. Former cookie clicker addict, anonymous, not anymore.
Yep.
Reformed.
Yeah. Next up on the show, coming to you from the city so nice that he lives there, Manhattan in New York. His name is John Schnars.
Hey guys.
John Schnars is the business manager at Bloody Good Horror, and he's got a hot sticker update for you here in a minute.
Whoa, hold on. All right, I thought that was just a pre-show thing, but all right, we'll do it live. We're gonna do it live.
Last up here tonight on the show, he's the co-host of the Enigmatic. He writes horror fiction. He's got a just killer serial killer beard right now. His name is Casey.
Hello. I did trim, by the way.
Casey, how much oil?
I contoured.
How much oil do you go through with that beard?
I've not finished my first bottle yet, but I cycle back and forth between oil and balm.
Yeah, the balm's cool, but then you're basically just like a wax figure, and it's kind of weird.
It's not too bad once you get going.
Though. Yeah,
I'll do a plug on the show.
As someone who's never had a beard,
when you take a shower, your hair's nice and nice and wet and okay. If you don't do anything, it dries out and gets like weird and like frizzy. You just kind of like put a little dime size in your hand, you kind of rub it up, and you just massage it in. Gives your beard like a nice shine to it, keeps it moist.
You go through, you get it on your hand, you go through.
It's delightful, and it smells great.
And then you comb it through, you comb it out, and you get it all over, and conditions it, and you smell delicious.
I didn't know you combed a beard. That's
because you can't grow one because you're Scandinavian.
I have an authentic bamboo
I'm aware.
comb.
Yeah, I got a big old boar hair bristle brush thing that I use for my
I just use a comb. I know a lot of people don't comb theirs, but mine, if I don't, looks like a nest of spiders. So I've got to keep on top of it.
I think that might just be the actual spiders in your beard.
It's like a bunch of spiders having a meeting on top of your head. We are here tonight to talk about Yakuza Apocalypse. That is Casey's staff pick. And try to make some sense of it. I gotta admit, I'm pretty excited to hear Schnars try to synopsize this movie, so we'll do that in a little bit here. But first up, John, what's your grade on our... some of our listeners are upset that we did not know more about Pride and Prejudice and zombies.
Yeah.
I would like to point those people to the haters to the left gif on my side here in the video. But since I value your opinion, John, I was curious what you thought of our episode.
So, you know what? I'm actually, and I have to just eat a little bit of crow, I guess, on this one. Like, I haven't listened to the episode yet, which I apologize for. I do try to stay ahead of the episodes. We talked about it a little bit beforehand. I was kind of adamant. Well, I wanted to be on the show. I saw the movie. I was like totally ready to talk about it. I have not read the book, but I'm fairly familiar with the works of one Jane Austen. And I felt like we were doing a disservice by not having someone who could speak to either the book or the original source material.
So, I guess I understand that, but also I don't think, and we talked about this over email, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with just taking in a movie as a movie, especially when it's like 7 years after that book came out, and the majority of people seeing it are not even going to know it was a book.
Sure. All right. That's fair.
And
but
I also liked the movie, so...
No. And,
you know what I mean?
Listen, I kind of liked it too. I kind of would give it like a 6 out of 10 on my scale, which is
that's fair.
Not bad. Yeah.
Schnar scale is tough. I only
You gave
get
a 10
7.
to Sweeney Todd, so
Yeah. There you go.
I'm
So
only
you
I'm only a
know-
7 on the Schnar scale, so I get it.
Yeah. It's just behind Eric. Like
A British
just in
5
general.
or no, was part.
No, but I do think like, all right, so the point that like you should be able to walk into any movie and just like appreciate it as a movie is 100% valid. And to that point, like you liked it and there you go, like end of conversation. That said, like I think to do the movie any kind of like real justice, and when I say real justice, I mean to like talk about it and like critically analyze it outside of just it being a film, you have to at least acknowledge that it's an homage and or parody or some mix thereof of the Jane Austen
We talked about it.
books and Pride and Prejudice in particular.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know anything about that book, but we certainly mentioned it.
well, I mean,
When
I
you
think
said the title of the book, the movie was Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
Here's the
did
thing, John.
invite-
I don't
did
like when
invite-
people tell me I should do things that I haven't done.
I mean, to be fair, I did invite a little bit of it because I was looking at Rotten Tomatoes and noticing that people did not have any concept of the fact that this was, in fact, not just Pride and Prejudice, but Pride and Prejudice and Zombies was a book, and this was based on that book. So that was, just kind of an. So I did invite it a little bit, but then we didn't really have a follow up to actually talk about it because
Yeah.
I've seen the cover. I could pick it out on a bookshelf, but that's about as far
Listen,
as
if
my.
I read books, I would be CC, and I would be smarter than I am. So, what are you gonna
The
do?
only thing that I would say, or the only like part of the review that I would have contributed above and beyond whatever you guys talked about, which I didn't get a chance to listen to yet, but I will at some point. So like I have read the book. I've actually read it twice. I had to read it in high school and then I had to read it in college. And
God, what kind of school?
the
did you
first
go
time I
to?
read it,
Wait, are you talking about Pride and Prejudice or Pride and Prejudice and Zombies?
no, when I was in college, the book had the zombies version hadn't come out. No, so I had read the book twice. I like went from really disliking it when I was in high school because it's not really for high school boys necessarily. It would take a lot. Yeah, it's not a horror movie either, that's for sure. But when I read it in high school, I actually like read it in college rather. I had a much deeper appreciation. And all I would say for the movie is that if it's a fair representation of the book, which I actually don't know if it is, although I suspect that it might be, I was surprised how like sort of quote unquote true to the story of Pride and Prejudice it actually was. And in that regard, I was actually like pretty impressed that they were able to essentially tell a pretty similar story, but with zombies injected. Like it's in the universe of sort of zombie or vampire homage type movie, or like whatever you want to call them, like horror / comedy homages. Like I was impressed how sort of like true to the spirit of the original work that it was, and that to me is like makes it worth seeing if nothing else.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Well, and
It was fun. It was better than I expected it to be.
yeah, but I also think it's fair for people to be like a little upset that there was not a whole lot of discussion of the original source
Agree to
material.
disagree, Schnars. How's that?
It's fine.
We are a horror show after all, and I think we covered the important parts for a horror show, talking about the zombies.
All right, that's true.
We also
So-
all kind of liked the movie though too.
Yeah, it's
So,
not like we were like, this is
not a whole
terrible.
lot of-
I feel like then I would have maybe expected a little more shit.
Yeah.
And to be
And,
fair,
you know,
like we
it's-
didn't get a lot of shit. It was like 3 people, but still.
And as
It
somebody
probably
who
was
hasn't
actually
read
closer
it,
to one person.
I'm a big reader. I went to school for music and I went to school for computers. I never had to read it in college. I never had to read it in high school. We covered things like The Great Gatsby and To Kill a Mockingbird. Those were the books we covered in college. They are in high school literature and stuff like that. So I never had a reason that I had to sit down and read Jane Eyre or Pride and Prejudice.
Austen.
Yeah, Jane Austen. Sorry, Jane Eyre is a totally different subject. And like John said, it's not something that you would consider a boys' book, so it's nothing that never drew me to it. And while I am interested in saying now, as older into doing the podcasting stuff like that, I'm more interested to get into the background of that stuff. I don't have the time to go back and bone up on that stuff before we do a show. So sometimes it's hard to fit it in.
Yeah,
I'm aware of it. And I know what it is.
No, and that's where like I don't think it's fair that anyone would expect that we would like read the whole thing, but maybe like I don't know. And like what I would have liked to have
To
done
be
is
fair,
done a
you
little
were
more
supposed to
research.
be here, John.
No, well, hey, we changed the date of the show. It wasn't on me necessarily, but yeah, it like I would have liked to have maybe not read. I actually don't care to read the book Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, but I'm curious to have done a little research around like how true to it actually was. Because the book was pretty well received when it came out. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember it coming
Sure.
out. It was a big deal, and critics actually liked the book a fair bit.
Yeah.
So
Well, that was the other thing that we talked about too, was that that book came out like 6 or 7 years ago. So that's the other thing is like if it was topical and it was a book that was really popular like a year or two ago, would have been a little more feasible that we would have picked it up. But
are they doing the Sense and Sensibility one?
I haven't.
I have
don't
not.
know.
I
I've
looked
not
it up.
heard.
I looked it up and I didn't see anything about it. So not even like a rumor.
This
or
didn't
anything
do
about it.
well either. So
Yeah, and as much trouble as they had getting this out there.
did you? Oh, so you didn't hear the show, John? Its opening weekend, it made $7 million worldwide on like a $40 million budget, which is not good. Not good. If I know
That's
anything
rough.
from the John Schnarr's School of Box Office numbers, that's no bueno.
Yeah, that's not
Hold on.
ideal.
Well, John,
Just checking in on the box office mojo here, but carry on.
I think we can all agree that I've learned nothing.
No, I mean that's what we would have expected.
Yeah,
So.
exactly. Hey, Mark, speaking of beard oil, you went to see The Revenant.
Yeah. I did, man.
Bet you there's a bunch of greasy beards in that movie.
Oh yeah, and a lot of grunting and like crawling at shit and muskets and
Ooh.
Ooh, muskets.
yeah. It was great. I mean, it's a very interesting movie. If you saw, I think some people's complaints about it was that it doesn't really like it. There's not a lot in the way of plot. Like if you watch the trailer and you understand the basic premise of the movie, that's like basically what happens with very few twists and turns. It's just basically like it's like a 2.5 hour survival movie with like a little bit of revenge in it, but it's just beautiful. And I just thought that I was having this thought while I was watching it that like it's kind of crazy to me that I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Inuritu. Is that how you pronounce it? Inuritu. You say
Send them away.
you say tomatillo, I say potato. But he
Sounds like something Joe would sing at Horror Hound Weekend. Either way.
yeah, I mean, so I actually haven't seen Birdman, but I've seen parts of it. And this movie is just so obviously just like so crazy different, but it's insane to me that this movie that's like gonna be an Oscar frontrunner, at least for the acting performances, if not the film in general, is like almost a better horror movie than most horror movies that we watch.
I think it's pretty horror. I didn't think of it that way.
In that it's very, I mean, it's super like visceral and violent and tense, and it's not like straight up horror, but it just succeeds in ways that a lot of horror movies that we watch don't. I'm just so glad that I saw it. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, I got to see it for sure.
I'm gonna watch it.
I like me some Leo DiCaprio, Mark, as I'm fond of saying.
Also, what's his face? The dude who was in Star Wars and Ex Machina and is it not? What the hell is that guy's name?
Oscar Isaacs?
Yes.
Oh, Dameron.
No.
Oh,
It is
the
Oscar
redhead
Isaac.
guy?
It's Oscar Isaacs.
Sith Hitler.
Yeah,
Oh.
the redhead guy.
Okay. Yeah, it's confusing because they were both in Ex Machina.
Yeah,
And Star Wars.
and Star Wars. I was also going to say About Time, but I think I'm probably the only person who saw that movie among us, right?
And you should probably sign off the podcast at this
Oh,
point.
come on. Rachel McAdams.
I'm sure we weren't the
treasure.
first people to make this the observation, but Sith Hitler is still like the funniest thing on earth to me because that's totally what it was. A and B, he's like the least intimidating Sith Hitler you could have possibly come up with.
Yeah.
I mean, he's trying to live up to like Grand Moff Tarkin, right? Like that dude cut a figure.
Oh, also, so
course he did.
Although he does
Revenant
kind of
and
look like a
Star
less
Wars-
shriveled version of him, I guess. Sorry, Mark.
Yeah, sure. But also in Revenant and Star Wars news, there's a scene where Leonardo DiCaprio guts a horse and sleeps inside of it. So little,
Awesome.
It's another
Star-
little throwback to Hoth there.
Also,
Yeah.
he's just got a lightsaber. It's like,
His name is Donald Gleason.
there you go.
30 years later, that scene still makes me ill when I watch it. The Tauntaun scene.
Well, this scene will definitely make you ill because there are moments of just pulling very accurate, gigantic horse organs out of the horse before he sleeps.
Sweet fucking Jesus.
Would you say iller?
Yeah.
All right, fellas. We got to move on here. Joe's gone. Joe normally brings us his beer pick right now. Anybody got a good drink on the show?
I'm drinking some Bullet bourbon.
Some H2O in my Tervis tumbler. Got a little beach scene on here.
I got
Some Trader
H2O
Joe's
too.
sparkling lime water. I got drinks.
Joe's ashamed of
I
all
did
of
have
us.
a couple. I had a couple adult beverages before I got home, but
Nice.
You know.
Yeah, you did.
I can tell you, if you like IPAs, I just recently found New Belgium's got a new beer out. The people that do Fat Tire, they got a new IPA called Citradelic, which is a tangerine IPA, and it is really good.
That does sound pretty good.
Sounds tasty.
Love me some tangerines. All right, guys. Time to review Yakuza Apocalypse. Please stand by.
Could there be a female gremlin?
Lipstick, boobies, bitch, you have me and little gremlin for JJ. I love it so much that it's not only in the movie, but it's definitely in the movie. There's no backsies on that one, no penny taxis. Yes, 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 in the movie, done! That's why we need a woman in the writer's room.
Hey, I'm Tom Atkins. Thrill me. You're listening to Bloody Good Horror.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big breaking TV. Up the prime time, bitch. Main feature.
And we're back. Mr. John Shanners Schnars.
Yes.
Words. You were missing last week, so no word of the day. It was very sad.
Oh, you didn't step into my shoes.
Yeah, we were missing, so we didn't have anybody to tell us the definition of pride.
Yeah, he tripped over your
Prejudice.
shoes.
Boom.
Nor prejudice. As
I am filling in for Joe this week. So, you went to Duke
Singer. I did.
College, learned some words.
Recent victors over the lowly UNC Tar Heels.
Great. That's just great. Great.
Yeah.
I saw an Onion headline. It was like plucky underdog Duke wins game or something. Fine. All right. Like you do every week here in the show, John, please bring us the word of the day. What do you got for us tonight, Mr. Shanners?
Today's word, like this film, courtesy of one Casey Criswell, is Kappa. That's Kappa.
Yeah.
All right, go on.
Yep. Kappa, is a letter in the Greek alphabet, but we're not going to get into that right now. Instead, we're going to talk about what Kappa means in the Japanese folklore.
I would
so
love
I'm going to
to.
read I'm going to read a little bit here from the Wikipedia. There's a lot, so I'm going to try to summarize a little. A Kappa, literally translated to river child, can also be known as Kawataro, Komahiki,
Hello.
or Kawako, which those translate to slightly different things, but still tying back to river child. The name is the combination of the words kawa, meaning river, and wappa, a variant of a word that means child. They are considered to be one of many sujin. They're Yorishiro, or one of their temporary appearances. So that part I don't understand. In Japanese Buddhism, they are considered to be a kind of hungry ogre. There are more than 80 other names associated with Kappa in different regions, including Kawapa, blah, 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 like many, many other names. They've been used to warn children of the dangers of lurking in rivers and lakes, because that's something like, I guess, kids are just doing a lot and they need to warn them away from it.
Sure.
As Kappa have been often said to try to lure people into water and pull them and there's a period after pull them. This is not a well-edited
Pull what?
Wikipedia page. Yeah. Pull the people, presumably. It has been suggested that the
That is
Kappa legends
pornographic.
are based on the Japanese giant salamander, an aggressive salamander that grabs its prey with powerful jaws.
Those things are
so
scary,
yeah,
man. You ever seen one of those?
I'll find a picture.
Scary.
I have not. But yeah, it's essentially like a human amphibian river creature thing.
And what does that have to do with this movie, John?
Well, what does anything have to do with this movie is really the question. So there is a creature in this movie, and I say creature because to call him human would be potentially a stretch.
You'd be short selling him, really, if you just called him a human.
That's fair. It's funny. I'm trying to think back to like what happened to that guy, and I have no idea where he went in the movie. But there is a character in the movie who is a human that has basically like a bird beak that's coming out of his mouth. So it's like he like looks basically like a regular human, except a bird beak coming out of his mouth, and then a turtle shell on his back, and then he has kind of like frog hands.
And he smells, apparently. Like
No, he did.
I love Schnarr's just really trying to accurately communicate all of the different random animal parts shoved onto this actor that make no fucking sense whatsoever. Your commitment to accuracy is unparalleled, John. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's a Kappa. It's funny, and like, so I did not do that much more research into Kappa, but I wonder what the tie-in would be to Koopas, which we all know and love from the world of Super Mario.
Kappa Trappas.
Yeah, there you go.
Nice. You say Koopa, I say Kappa.
There you can go ahead with that.
Man, I have really fallen down a giant salamander Google image search.
Yeah, I got one in our video right now, which if you're a patron, you could be watching right now. They're basically
horrifying.
dinosaurs.
Oh my god,
or
they're
so
like scary.
They're like real life Pokemon, basically.
They're so slimy looking.
Yeah. So, John, tell me what Yakuza Apocalypse is about.
Yakuza Apocalypse. Like, to say that this movie is about
Could you try to say Yakuza any whiter? Is that possible?
Yeah.
Yakuza.
Yakuza. Yakuza Apocalypse. All right. So you've got this guy, Kagema. I'm looking up how you actually say it. Kageyama. Sorry, I was cutting out a syllable there. He's kind of like our main character. He is the henchman in a Yakuza gang in this sort of like backwater town in Japan. He reports up to a boss who's pretty boss, right? He's like a legit Yakuza. Like the town likes him. He kind of like he's like the Godfather. He runs shit in the town, but he also like takes care of the people. He makes sure that they're not getting roughed up. And it turns out he's also a vampire, and so he can't be killed, and that obviously confers many benefits. So there's like a bunch of setup, and there's some kind of random stuff with like a love story that's going on. Eventually, these sort of motley crew of things, including our Kappa friend, show up and kill the boss. They essentially tell him like he was like part of their gang.
I think what you mean, John, is like tiny, nerdy, long-haired assassin ninja man showed up to assassinate the Yakuza vampire.
So his name is Kaioken.
And he's the best.
He was an anime nerd. It's important to point out.
Yeah, he's an anime nerd.
I feel like I know him and I've seen him from something else, but I couldn't tell you what.
Napoleon Dynamite. That's where you saw him.
No, you may have seen him in The Force Awakens, in which he was a character.
Yep.
Oh, maybe I have his trading card in my app.
1 and 2.
Yeah, he was in the Raid films as well. So he's actually not. He only has like 10 credits, but they're all like awesome things that have happened like in the last couple of years.
He's got a little kid backpack on the whole movie too, which cracked me up every time.
Well, yeah, he was like a nerd, right? Yeah. He was basically a nerd who was like super good at
ninja assassinating vampires.
At nerding.
Yeah.
And at nerding. So Yeah, so it's that guy. It's this dude who's dressed like a pilgrim from like the first Thanksgiving and speaking in English, but not great English,
There
even
was
though
no
everyone
English,
else is
yeah.
speaking in Japanese.
Well, he is a
Um,
pilgrim, John.
yeah. Oh, he may okay. And he does have like a weird kind of like musket looking gun. It's like an old timey but then weird gun. And then you've got the Kappa guy. There may have been like a couple other henchmen with them. They kill the boss, but they kill him and they chop off his head. He's still not really dead. He actually his disembodied head bites Kageyama and transfers his vampire abilities to him. Um, that's basically the most succinct like part of the plot you can describe. That and that's probably only the first 30 minutes of the movie, which is around 2 hours long. The rest of the movie is basically Kageyama trying to get revenge against this like sort of random group of assassin type people,
But
which it eventually leads to them calling in their boss.
doesn't like there when the
Diana Frost.
when the and I'm sorry, like I didn't understand a goddamn thing in this movie, so I apologize. But when the original like immortal vampire boss dies, there's kind of like a split in his group, right? Like some of them end up becoming vampires and kind of going with the young guy. But then isn't there this other group that were a part of that gang originally?
Yeah. So all right. So there's like I mean so there is some additional I don't know plot twists around the group itself, right? Because the guy Kageyama was not like he was pretty well treated and kind of brought into the inner circle by the boss, but the rest of the gang didn't really look at him as being like that good
Like
or
good
that strong.
enough and
He didn't
tough
have any
enough.
tattoos.
Yeah, that was like his main problem was he was unable to get tattoos, which is rough as problems go. So when
He
you're
has
Yakuza.
sensitive skin. I feel it.
Yeah. And like I didn't really get into there's like a woman that they rescue from being sort of like rape slash attacked, I think. But then she's in the hospital and there's something wrong with her eyes, which I didn't really understand. I don't know if anyone picked up on what the hell was going on with her eyes. She
Well, it was just
and
that she was
Kageyama,
like beaten really bad, right?
Yeah.
Because like when they
I-
show her,
I-
she's got black eyes like so bad she like can't. I don't know.
Yeah, she had some kind of wounds underneath her eyes. That's all I know.
that was unclear. Um, but yeah, so what happens is like right after Kageyama gets turned into a vampire, he like wakes up and doesn't really know what's going on because he hadn't necessarily been prepared for it, and he like immediately turns like a couple other people into vampires, and what that does is it starts like a vampire outbreak, and so like the whole town, like or half the town becomes these vampires.
Right, and he kind of discovers that along the way that like the old boss kept it intentionally so that there weren't a lot of them because it just kind of turns into chaos when too many people have the hunger, so to speak.
Yeah, the hunger.
Imagine
yeah,
if
what
David
was-
Bowie was in this movie.
There was then that would be
It would have been the
tough.
least weird thing to happen.
It's true. They no, and so he eventually meets like this guy or a guy that he had met before, but who was kind of like the boss's helper who would like feed him blood that kept him from turning other people into vampires. And he kind of helps him, but then they don't spend a lot of time together. I don't really know. Like there's a lot of moving in and out of weird scenes that starts to happen.
All right, Schnars has run out of gas. Mark, what's this movie about? Or what did you think of this movie? I literally just heard Schnars' like clock winding down.
Yeah, that was about it.
mean-
Thank you for saving me.
Not for nothing. That was probably the most enthusiastic synopsis, and very well done. Because I don't know that I could have come up with half of the shit that you did to explain this movie. I didn't really have any expectations going into it, and I think that really helped because I really enjoyed it. It is like it's the thing that I find very strange about this movie, and it's been honestly like admittedly a very long time since I've seen a Miike film. Like, and the last time I saw one was probably for this show, like 5 or 6 years ago. And this was the thing that I found very strange about this, besides all the strange shit, was that it was actually reasonably straightforward for about the first half an hour to 40 minutes. Like it almost seemed almost like too well put together for a Miike film. And then the weird fucking turtle Kappa guy shows up, and then it just like totally careens off the rails and crashes into a wall and like catches it. It's like I can't.
See, that was when I started going, okay, all right,
right. But that's what I'm saying. Is I was like, this is kind of a middling but somewhat strange thing. And then when it started going fully weird, I was like completely on board.
Totally,
to the point where like the weird baby farm scene, I was like, yep, this makes. I was just accepting things that were happening.
You have to. You totally have to just go fuck
and not
do your worst.
questioning any of it. And in that way, like I say this probably every week, but the best thing after seeing all these movies, all these years on the show, like the best thing to me that a movie can be is memorable. And there is no fucking chance I'm going to forget this movie because it's just so weird. It's just so obscenely weird.
I'm definitely going to remember Kermit Ninja, man.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about that for like an hour because
Casey.
I have to.
Yes.
Go.
So I picked this movie. I'm a Miike fan. There's some of his movies I've really loved. Happiness of the Katakuri's. Ichi, of course, Audition was really great and really disturbing. I've seen a couple of his not so famous ones. The dude, I mean, the dude's prolific filmmaker. He's got some stuff that's complete crap, obviously. He's got some really genius stuff. This one, I didn't know what to go in. I hadn't watched a Miike movie for a while. The last couple new ones I've watched, I wasn't too impressed with. So I wasn't sure what I was going to get. And like Mark said, there's like the first 40, 45 minutes of this is a pretty straight Yakuza flick. And then you could pick up on the vampire notes that were coming in there. It made sense and whatnot. And then it went off the rails. And that's not to say that I didn't like it. But at that point, this movie lost any coherence. And it was just kind of like, okay, now what the hell am I going to see next? And in that sense of it, I had fun with it. Is it the greatest movie I ever saw? No. Is it like the greatest Miike movie I've ever saw? No. Was it fun? Yeah, it was fun, and it was fucking weird. And you don't get to see fucking weird in the movies too much these days. So it had that going for it.
That's fair. John?
This movie was fucking real weird. I didn't like it, but I actually watched it almost entirely in one sitting, which is I mean, no, but like
John
it was
Schnarr's
super.
level's the greatest
Spoiler
comment.
alert, I did not.
No, but like it was really long. Like so, it's 2 hours long, which is just
it is
incredible.
2 GD long.
Yeah, it's way too long. It's so off the goddamn deep end that you really need to be fully committed. And all that being said, I somehow just like kept watching it without being that distracted. And then I like think back and I'm kind of like, yeah, it was just really, really weird. Like I'm not sad that I spent the time watching it, or
Not
I'm not
even
upset
necessarily
about it.
crazy, right? Like we've done Machine Girl and Tokyo Gore Police, and those are like explosively in your face nuts. This movie is just weird. Like it has some of those moments, but it's more just odd.
It's weird.
Yes.
I mean, we can talk about this more in the discussion. I don't want to jump on John too much, but like it's weird precisely because all of these really strange things are happening in a very earnest setting. Like
With no
it's
explanation offered whatsoever.
Well, like the perfect example is the fucking turtle guy. It's like up until that point, it's like a pretty serious, straightforward movie, and then fucking turtle guy shows up, and
I really
no one
hated
acts
that
as
guy.
if, no one acts as if anything weird is happening.
Yeah,
The
well,
fucking
I
beat
mean,
was so
Mark, you say
stupid.
that, but like, there's that whole sequence where there's the dudes knitting in
what
like the
was that
basement
about?
of that room.
Oh, right, there is that thing.
And
You're
then
right.
he stomps on his foot, and like then when the guy doesn't freak out, he like takes him and kills. Like, it was so weird. Like
So they were like
the thing
they
is,
were food for the boss, right? Like they were that was his blood farm
Yes.
basically. Why
And
were
this
they
is-
knitting
this
though?
is-
I don't know.
I don't know.
Vampires
them
need
busy.
quilts too.
But this is where and I think my suspicion is the answer is like nothing would come of this, but I am compelled to go read about this movie just to be like, am I missing something? Like, is there some
Yeah.
like Japanese background to this that would like completely pull the veil off of my eyes, and I would
How
be
does
like,
this
what?
compare to the collective works of Jane Austen?
I mean, less comprehensible. So I'll leave it at that.
You
Are
know, and
there
it's
any
funny
frog
'cause
ninjas in Pride and Prejudice?
No, but they
Should
could
be.
maybe do a parody. I would watch it.
They it's funny though because I did go out and read a couple like reviews just to see if I could make more sense of what's going on there, and you get a mix of people that say, "Hey, this is all right for a Miike film," and then you also have the collection of them that people that saw this because this was big in the festival circuit here in the States when it first came out, and people talking about how this is Miike's greatest vision ever, but they don't explain why.
Here's the thing: he can definitely do worse because I've seen a few of his movies that were
Yeah.
just dog shit. I'm sort of two minds in this movie. Like it's fine, right? Like I'm okay that this movie exists, and I kind of enjoy the fact that weird things like this are out there. Kind of to Casey's point, it is way too long. And the first hour is way too dry. Like until Turtle Guy shows up, and even some of the scenes after that, it's just way too bogged down and like meaningless. Like it's like an acid trip because you can't follow any of the conversations, and you feel like you should be able to, and you can't tell if it's just you or the movie. And so, but I guess it does demand your attention in that sense because you can't you really gotta dial into this thing.
Oh yeah, I was really engaged and could not for the life of me untangle.
Pretty
what
much
the hell was
for
going-
me, the thing that brought me back around is the not Turtle Guy. I fucking hate Turtle Guy because that beak looks so stupid, and I don't understand his deal. But
And his voice was really annoying.
he's just so dumb. But Frog Ninja Man is incredible. He is awesome. It makes no sense. He's got a party, a cheap Kermit the Frog bootleg ass party warehouse costume on, but it kind of seems like it's not a costume, like he's really a frog or something. But then at the end of the movie,
when people would punch him, it would make the same noise when they punched people
I
who had
know.
buckets.
and then at the end of
could
the
not figure
movie,
it out.
he takes his helmet off, the giant frog mask off, and underneath he's got a smaller bootleg Kermit the Frog mask on, and weird some scales kind of painted on his body, and then for some reason he's got a cross of tape across his belly button, like he's King Hippo and Punch Out.
King Hippo style.
Yeah, and it's so
but
dumb.
he's jacked, right?
Not
He was
for
super
nothing
jacked.
too, but he also, and this is my other complaint about this movie, he has by far the best fight scenes in this movie. For a movie that's about Yakuza and ninja dudes, the fight choreography in this movie is really terrible until you get to the last act, and even then, it's not amazing. It just gets better.
Well, and I think that was one of the things I was going to say. So just in the very quick research I was doing before we jumped on, the main guy, the Kageyama guy, he is not a guy who does.
And you can tell.
fight scenes.
You can totally tell.
Yeah.
A martial artist.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, he's not like a stunt guy or So yeah, that I think really ties Miike's hands in terms of what he can do in the fight choreography. You're totally right. Because the nerdy the guy from Force Awakens, that guy is
Nerd
clearly he's in the movie because he is badass at fucking kung fu stuff or whatever, karate.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever they're doing here, he's good.
And
at it.
I'm not enough of I can appreciate kung fu as a kind of cinematic art form, but I'm not enough of a fan of it that I can just sit and watch mediocre dudes punching each other. That's not. You got to bring some shit. I don't know, what's that movie with the elephant, the dude kneeing people in the face? You got to be like that movie.
Bach?
Yes.
Fuck yes, dude.
That's what I'm saying. And then I'll be like, all right, that was cool. Or Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon or something. Or even Tarantino stuff, when he's done that stuff, he goes and gets the best choreographers in the world and just rocks it. This shit is just so, it's kind of boring.
Well, what about that? We'll get to it later, but I mean, to that point, what about the big finale battle?
Well, that's my point. That's good. I wouldn't call it amazing, but it blows everything else in the movie away. And I do understand at some point, maybe that was the best he could do. So you have to kind of not do that good the rest of the movie because you've got to have that big punch at the end. But I don't know, throughout a lot of the movie, that's the only real action keeping you in it. And some of them are just come on, bro, this is some clown shit.
There's just a lot of talking in general in the movie.
Yeah.
And there's also just a lot of weird shit that doesn't.
Her brain is melting.
How much time was spent
shooting
with
out of her ears.
Yes, the captain. That was so. this is like there's a female one, like a female Yakuza.
I did not
who's
understand
part-
what she was doing in any part of this movie.
No, well, she's part of their gang. She's part of the boss's gang, but then she's like also kind of in with the like super gang that the boss was originally part of and broke off from. But then she's got this thing in her head where it sounds like it's dripping, and then stuff shoots out of her ears. And then there was this whole
It's
sequence
like
where she's
runny
like,
oatmeal.
what was the garden she was making? It was like a garden of
They were-
regret.
Some
No.
fat kids in their underwear.
She was farming people so that they could
Oh.
have, because there's a scene where like
Civvies.
there's a scene where everyone goes apeshit and basically everyone's a vampire now. So she was
Yeah.
like farming bodies so that they could like have a never-ending supply of food. But it was like there was like little fat kids with sprouts on top of their heads.
I got it
like,
up in the
giggling.
video right now. They look like Teletubbies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was also like 8 of them. She was in a room that was like 10 by 10.
That's
That was
only
just
gonna
the
last
first
2
crop.
weeks. Then you got to go to Trader Joe's and buy more baby seeds, and it's like,
Only fair trademark.
Have any of you guys watched? There's a documentary on Netflix called Electric Boogaloo, the wild and untold story of canon films. Have
No.
any of you watched that?
No.
That
But
sounds cool though.
I'm sure you guys are familiar with the, with some of the history of canon films and whatnot. And when I watched this, there's I can't think of their names off the top of my head, but the two guys that started that studio, they were kind of known for they'd hire writers in to write a script, and then the other guy, the guy that ran the studio, who was the filmmaker part of it, he was just kind of like, well, that's not exciting enough. What if he would kind of write these movies that canon would put out on the fly? He's like, what if we throw this in? What if we throw this in? And what if we do this? And they would get bizarre,
Literally like the
get weird.
Gremlins 2 sequel Doctor from
Yeah.
Key and Peele.
Yeah, like that. And that's what this movie feels like.
I'm gonna
That
throw
he
one
can't
more
sit
in
around and say,
Electric
"Let's do
Gremlin.
this." What if we have one frog suit and then we get a bigger frog
And
suit?
it feels that way. I mean, like, there's just to me, it's about all about the frog, man. Like he takes that helmet off, and he's got another frog like thing underneath it. That
The
fuck-
tension was
like
was
at that point, it's
fucking
like
great.
it's like checkmate, bro. You got me. You got me on that one. I was not expecting that.
But the tension was on that even when he first starts opening up the first time, showing the mouth hole that looks like he's shocked. And then you're just sitting there. It's like, okay, what the fuck's going to be underneath there? That was
But-
kind of genius.
And I hate to I can't help but compare this to Tokyo Gore Police and Machine Girl, and like I hate to be kind of reductivist about, or I don't know if that's a word, John. I always do that.
Yeah, I'll allow it.
Anyway, I hate to do that and just say, well, these 3 movies are Japanese. Let's compare them, but they are weird in very similar ways. And I feel like we always on those 2 movies kind of felt the same way of like when it's being weird, it's kind of great, but then there's all this other shit around it, and I felt like in watching this that it's probably to a native Japanese speaker who understands the kind of genre stuff they're riffing on and the cultural stuff, that this movie is probably really funny, because there were parts that seemed like they were intended to be jokes, but I cannot get that stuff when you're like reading subtitles and it's like just this very different language of film being used that I'm not familiar with, and so all that's lost on me. And so then when they're talking, I'm just like, when's the frog coming back?
Why is his duck bill inside of his mouth?
I know.
So what I'm saying is
that this is like Meet the Spartans, but you know.
no. I just think that there's probably a lot of more comedy going on here that we can appreciate as non-native speakers. And but overall, I feel
what in the fuck? But like people who are sort of more in tune with what they were trying to do would be like, yeah, I see.
But overall, I feel the same way as I felt about those movies. Just like, hey, you're kind of cool when you're being weird, but like, just be weird. Don't try anything else because you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll fall back on the one line review I offered you guys because it was like literally all I could come up with. But like to me, this movie was Feast 2, which I really detested, but mixed with Ichi the Killer or some, take your pick on other Miike films.
It is a little Feast 2-y.
It's Feast, dude. It's very similar in a lot of ways. Like
remember the little people from Feast 2?
Yeah, well, exactly. They use little people, and this movie has people in frog costumes. Like that's.
I will say, I think my favorite character in the whole movie is the like kind of pudgy kid that turns into a vampire and just becomes a complete fucking angry badass.
Yeah, he was
I
alright,
love that
too.
the fact that when he turned into a vampire, his big transformation is that he pulled his hair off and he had an afro.
He ripped his hair off. Yeah,
That actually was really funny.
I kind of for a
liked-
second thought he was going to scalp himself, which I wasn't
I know.
really excited about seeing.
Well, I love the scene when he jumps on top of the car with the axe. That was actually like one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
And
it's
he
kinda
brains he brains the other lady towards the end there too in a pretty great
captain.
scene.
True.
I also loved after that car scene where he was on the car with his axe, and that was really good, well choreographed because he's flipping back and forth while they're trying to shake him off and stuff like that. I love the fact afterwards that the Yakuza gang kept the same car and they put band-aids over the holes, more or less.
It's just, yeah, it's just, I don't even know. The last one of the, not the very last fight scene, but close to the last fight scene, with the nerd guy and the main character, where they're like just violently slow motion punching each other back and forth for like 10 minutes, was pretty awesome. Just
Maybe
like
maybe a hair too long.
I said it was like the Miike. It was like the Miike version of the fight scene from They Live. That fight scene that was just like kind of awkward and went on a little too long, but was also pretty awesome.
Like this movie's almost 2 hours long. Imagine how good it would have been if it was like an hour and 21 minutes.
I know.
It would have been just all weird stuff.
Unadulterated, just fucking weirdness.
Yeah.
I mean, we've said this a million times. I cannot stress enough how amazing I thought the fucking frog mascot guy was. Like, it's just introduced at a point in the movie, like very like Western style. Like he's just walking down the street and a bunch of toughs try to rough him up and he just beats the shit out of him. I think we actually had a gif of it and like becomes the most important sort of bad guy in this movie. Like up until the very, up until the credits, and
like bad guy, but also secretly the hero because he's the best character in the movie.
Right, but it never makes sense. Like there's no story behind it. It's just like, nope, this is like.
I love when he pulls the tape off of his belly button and he's just like, oh, and then you hear this like rumbling noise and you're like, okay, sure.
I love that the only explanation we get on the monster guy is the dude dressed up like a pilgrim who is talking in English very slowly saying, he is a modern monster, the biggest terrorist in the world.
Yeah, they kept calling him a terrorist, which is so weird. I did not understand that.
You see, Mark, you wait till he goes to punch you like this, and then you punch him in the stomach, and it stuns him, and then you beat him, and then
he blocks your punch.
Yep.
He blocks your punch,
yes.
and then you punch him.
Yeah. Then you go right after that. You train in New York City, and you run in your little pink jogging suit.
And his pants fall down when you punch him in the stomach, and he keeps trying to pull him up.
Yeah.
And if he gives you the stink eye, you have to.
I like to think that is a reference. Let's just say
it's got to be.
Sure.
Because I know that like in Japanese,
it's the weirdest thing to just come up with, right?
I do know that there's some kind of mythos around Japanese vampires. That it's some
they're like the hopping vampires. Or no, those are
they hold their arms
though,
like that. And is it Chinese? Yeah, you're maybe right.
I don't know.
You guys lost me.
People love when we talk about things they're not really sure about, but just say things anyway.
Yeah.
So I should just keep going.
This is when our show screams America.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh.
Guys, I just searched for Japanese belly button vampire, and all the videos that came up were titled Japanese belly button play.
Oh, that's weird.
Yep. That's in my search history.
Is this like that classic moment when we learn about lunars?
Listen, you shouldn't play with belly buttons, man. They're fragile. You don't want to be messing with that.
That's what holds everything in.
Yeah, exactly.
And also if you get hit hard enough in it, like in your belly button, it summons a Godzilla felt frog monster that comes out of a volcano.
Yeah.
That's the apocalypse component of the,
I mean, so can we talk about
Can
we talk about the very ending? It's like kind of a spoiler.
Yeah, then let's wrap up because I'm running out of ways to say this movie's weird, but it's fine.
In a movie, right? So, stripped down frog person with the tape on the belly button gets punched in the stomach, and that's like kind of the end of him. But it awakens this gigantic Godzilla-sized felt frog person who comes out of a volcano, and he makes his like slow trudge towards wherever they are. And it's weird because like it's built up as this like epic moment and you're like, wow, something really crazy is gonna happen. And then there's never a fight with the frog.
Cut to the credits. Smash cut. Credits.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
like,
smash cut's real weird, and this movie beguiles.
They make a point to show the giant monster walking very slowly towards what we assume is wherever we are in the film. And then there's just nothing that's done with it. That's the only thing that
this movie beguiles too. The guy sheds his, or like he gets the vampire teeth and he goes, and he like looks at the screen.
I don't think that was like a beguile. He was like ascending to fight the monster,
No,
but then
but
you don't fucking see.
he looked directly at me. That's a beguile. That's all the beguile is.
Oh man, I missed that part.
He went like that,
No,
and then he flew off.
The beguile is categorized by coming from a part in the screen that doesn't make any sense movie-wise.
I keep a less strict definition of a beguile.
Well, someone has to keep a strict definition.
More of a beguile.
In this house, we're looser with our beguiles. So.
I've often found you to be looser with your beguile, so I get it.
It's because I eat a lot of fiber.
Lord.
I did like his vampire getup at the end, though.
Right. So like that's the weird thing, I guess. In like a movie that does not pull any of its weird impulses, why is that the moment that you show restraint, like and have some crazy fight to end, you know? But at that point, like the movie has gone on for far too long. So I wasn't mad that it was over. I was just kind of
You were just like, oh, I guess that's the end.
I would have at least liked to watch that giant frog mascot stomp a city or something.
I just figured it was like a Russian doll situation. Like he just would like rip off part of the suit and it would be like increasingly smaller frog things that
Smaller
were like
frog guys who are ripped like Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You know what this movie did make me want? To watch a better Yakuza movie.
Yeah, so that's kind of my like. If this is being lauded as his like magnum opus, then maybe the real like takeaway here is that he's just not that good of a director because it's fine. But this is like your crowning achievement. It's like, all right, man, that's cool.
Well, to be fair, when like
I'm not saying you did,
thought,
but you mentioned it that you had seen that, and I feel like I've heard that also.
But like the review I read that was talking about how this is his big return and how great it was and stuff like that, it totally smacked of fanboyism. And BK's got his full-blown fanboys out there that are going to eat up anything he puts out.
Well,
guys, the good news is he's only 55 years old. The man has a lot of film.
Miike got really big in like American film circles, like around the time where, you know, the online horror community like really started booming. And what happened was suddenly, because of the internet, like you can discover all these films. Like I remember renting Ginger Snaps because I had read about it on a message board and being like fucking blown away by it. And it's one of the reasons why I still love that movie so much. And Miike, I feel like, was in not necessarily that exact time, but like in that era where he really benefited from the internet, giving him accessibility to an American like film nerd audience. And I think that a lot of those people who kind of found it back then like have a love for him because of that kind of, I don't know, maybe it's nostalgia even. Like I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I think that that's kind of where his mythos sort of starts.
Can we at least agree that Audition is fucking awesome?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
E.T. is pretty great too.
Here's my feeling on it.
I
Here's my feeling on it. And actually I forgot who directed it. It's funny you say that. I think that Audition has at least two of these scariest moments in any film I've ever seen. I think that the first hour in Audition is like almost unwatchable. Like the pacing in that movie is fucking brutal.
It's sort of intentional though. I mean, like
I know, I get it, but again, like I think that's a cultural thing. Like here's my problem with a slow burn that comes from a place like Japan. The way that you appreciate a slow burn is by understanding the nuance. And as I have proven over and over, I cannot grasp the nuance in these Japanese films. I'm just incapable of it. And so I'm just sitting there waiting for something to happen in Audition. And again, I haven't seen it in like at least 10 years. So it's hard to say. But like the scene where the phone rings and it's just a slow scene and the phone's ringing and all of a sudden you don't even see that the dude is in the body bag thing. And he like lurches across the screen out of nowhere, like that is burned into my head as one of the scariest moments I've ever experienced in a film. And so I give props to that film. It's just like as a whole package is not my thing, I don't think.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, like I'm actually looking at his IMDb page. It is really remarkable how many movies he directs. Like, if he's actually
99 as of press time.
And there's something to be said about that kind of prolificness also.
No, he's almost, yeah, like I'm trying to think of, there's not even really a corollary for him in Hollywood. Like, there's no one in Hollywood that's doing what he's doing. He's literally, there's years where he's putting out 5 or 6 movies.
Yeah.
The problem is, like, none of them are gonna be that good. That's just like the price you pay for
sure,
that
but then
kind
it
of
puts
volume.
you into like a different category, right? Like it puts you into like a Corman kind of a category. Or
God,
like
God damn it, John.
Well,
Big Bang
exactly.
Love Juvenile A is a classic.
Yeah. No, I mean, but it is weird because like his fastball, and when I say his fastball, I'm talking about things like Anichi the Killer that at least I haven't seen that many of these when I like look back on them.
I haven't either.
But it's really good. And it's funny, I've like clicked through on a couple of them and I'm like, oh, this sounds like an interesting title. And then I see the cover art and I'm just like, no, I'm not watching.
So is there, do you
this.
guys see one in there with the word Yakuza in it? Because Mark, you might have watched this one with me because
He's done a number of
I got
Yakuza
sent it
movies.
from a distributor years ago and watched it and was like, this is
Are
terrible.
you speaking of Full Metal Yakuza?
Yes.
No. Yeah?
Yes, that was it. And it was bad.
Did we watch that together?
Yes.
That's possible.
A long time ago. I don't know what year it came out.
97. It's original
97.
release date. But
Yeah, so like
who
we
the
were
hell
probably
knows?
both still living at our parents' house. Which was a long time ago.
I mean, I was 11 in 1997, so
Yeah.
that'll just give you some context.
Have you guys? I haven't seen 13 Assassins, but I would watch it. That's one I would watch.
Yeah. I have not seen it either, but I've heard nothing but good stuff about it.
Yeah, so I don't know. I can appreciate both him and this film, even if it's not necessarily my thing. And I kind of knew it, like, this is not my thing going in. I kind of just go into these movies thinking, like, show me some weird stuff, and I think I definitely got that out of it.
I would say that this movie has a sufficient quantity of weird stuff happening.
Totally. All right, let's wrap it up here. Anything else? Is there a movie guide for this, Mark?
No, but we also left out the
amazing.
like really sick like car with Gatling guns on it.
Oh
or
yeah,
whatever.
that was like half the budget in the movie was making that car.
Right. I thought there was gonna be a really like cool showdown with that and the giant mascot guy, but
Aren't those like a
just-
big cultural thing over there now? Like a pop culture thing?
What, giant cars with Gatling guns?
Not with the Gatling guns, but with all the lights and the big ass chrome attachments and shit.
Oh, maybe.
I don't know, man.
I'm
I
pretty
would
sure.
love to live in a world where that were true.
Would you
Just search for
recommend
Japanese gun car? I'm like really trying to fuck my my Google search
Mark,
history.
would you recommend
So-
this?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's like
John.
it's just weird. You gotta watch it.
John.
Probably not. No.
Casey.
Yeah, I would say if you like Japanese flicks, and you're known to have liked Miike flicks before, check it out.
Yeah, big qualifier. Like if you're into weird Japanese shit and you're just down for whatever, like watch it. But if you're waiting for this to be the one to make you get this sort of thing, it's totally, I don't think, gonna be the thing.
You're gonna watch this and be like,
Oh, all right.
This is not.
I'm
this
the
is not
asshole.
This is
I'm
not the
finally
Rosetta
like
Stone of Japanese.
Pokemon, like totally makes sense to me now. It's all coming together.
He
Fuck
says
yeah.
he only says Pika because his name is Pikachu. I get it.
Pika, pika.
All right, guys,
Oh,
that's it
God.
for Yakuza Apocalypse. Let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
Backup! I need backup!
A rookie cop facing unspeakable evil.
There's something really wrong here. These things aren't dying. I just blasted this thing, and it's still alive.
One of the most anticipated games of 1998, Resident Evil 2. If the suspense doesn't kill you, something else will.
Everyone's gonna die.
Hi, this is Adrienne Barbeau, and you're listening to Bloody Good Horror.
Send your emails to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or hit us up on Twitter at BGHorror with the hashtag AskBGH. And don't forget to pick up back episodes of the show at podcast.bloodygoodhorror.com.
back to do some fan mail. We like to hear from our fans. I'd like to point out also the other person who's back is Beyonce, saying haters to the left for no reason. I'm not calling anybody out. I just love this GIF. It's just, I think you might call it fierce, Mark, if you had to call it something.
I just hope that she really carries around hot sauce in her purse.
info@bloodygoodhorror.com is the email address. It's funny that we bring up Roger Corman, John, because every once in a while I like to just read a funny subject line from an email I get sent from a distributor. And this one, coming to us from some company that I don't know because I didn't copy the thing. Legendary filmmaking icon Roger Corman returns to produce the most epic death race ever as principal photography begins in Peru on Roger Corman's Death Race 2050. Wait, there was something funnier about it, though. It was who was in it.
This is pretty hilarious so far.
Frankenstein takes the wheel with Malcolm McDowell in Roger Corman's Death Race 2050. How about that, Mark?
All right. See, that's better. I like that.
It was mostly the McDowell reference that got me into that one, so...
Listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm surprised Roger Corman's still alive. I just assumed he was dead.
I had literally the exact same reaction and still making movies, which is amazing. Although maybe he's just like presents, you know.
Yeah.
Hard to say.
Literally, he's like, yeah, I'll let you use my name. Give me a credit.
Hard to say. Hayden, I think this is Hayden. Listening to the Hunger episode, and Eric mentioned his parents' first date was Deliverance. This reminded me of something similar. I only recently found out that my own parents' first date was A Clockwork Orange.
Oh boy.
It kind of makes me nostalgic for a time I never lived in when everyone, even two teenagers from Southeast Texas and Louisiana, saw everything that came to theaters. Being exposed to everything without prior knowledge must have been exciting. Nowadays, it's more difficult to not know anything about a movie going in. Anyway, somehow my mom continued to see my dad and eventually had just enough sex to have myself and my brother and sister. I'm wondering what the kids of 20 or so years from now will be saying their parents' first movie day was. Netflix. Have any of you picked a particularly bad date movie? I took a date to see House of a Thousand Corpses once, and she was not into it. I think
that's extreme.
Yeah, I just wanted to see it. Like, and I was that was probably pre me seeing movies by myself, like so I probably just took her with me. But
When I was in college, I took a girl on a date to see the documentary about the aristocrats.
The aristocrats.
The joke.
The aristocrats joke.
Dude, that movie's amazing.
It's a great movie. Very interesting temperature check in a relationship.
I would say 100% it's Netflix. Like that's going to be the story. It's like, hey, we were Netflix and chilling at home, and 9 months later, baby was born.
I think I've talked about. I took my wife to see my now wife. It was like our second date. And we went and saw History of Violence, which as a Cronenberg film, I was like irrationally excited about, and I think I was like talking it up a lot. And then she got in there, and there's like, there's like some light rape and like a lot of violence, obviously. And she was like, "Is there something wrong with you?"
John, that sounded like an MPAA description, like rated R for light rape and allusions to smoking.
Yeah, it was some.
The other thing I think that's like, I actually totally agree with him because I think about this often, that I think I do have a certain like nostalgia for a time period I never experienced where you had to see a movie in the theater, or like you were never going to see that movie unless the theater happened to pick it up again. Like, I think that's a really fucking cool thing. The idea that like maybe you just went to the theater like every day after work for like a nickel and saw whatever was there. And maybe if you really liked it, you saw it 10 times because you maybe were like, there might be people from the early 1900s who like had a favorite movie that they only saw one time. Or they saw it 10 times in theaters and never saw it again. Like that's an interesting, like that's so that's so opposite the whole modern, like now you can't escape the things you like because they're omnipresent. Whoa. So there's something like really unique and that I really enjoy about that I think is fascinating.
I'm on board for that too.
Yeah. That was how I was going to say I was on mute, but my wife and I's first date was to see Needful Things.
Nice. That's all right.
Explains a lot.
It's a classic movie. Yeah. So I just put this GIF here. Unfortunately, this is a movie, so I can't loop it. But it's a GIF that BC made of Sophie shushing me on the show. I don't know what I was talking about, but she was totally silent. Like she just was over on her end and deciding that whatever. I don't know, Mark. Do you remember what I was talking about?
No, I don't. But wait, you didn't get the. Hold on. There's an actual GIF that loops, and I'm gonna send it to you.
Oh, that
you gotta
link
put
you
it in the
sent
feed.
goes to an MP4. Like I can't. It saved the video as an MP4.
Get a computer, bro. I just sent you the
You
GIF.
sent me the wrong link, bro. You get a computer. I got one.
I don't think that's true. So this was from BC,
It's up
who
there
is famous for catching two other BGH video moments. Eric's wife coming like scaring the shit out of him from outside, and me attempting to drink whiskey and dumping it in my lap. So this is just another in a long line of BGH moments he's captured.
Yeah.
And the best part about this is that I think that Sophie did not realize what she was doing until after she did it. Like she just had a very visceral reaction to something Eric was saying, and her reaction was to put her finger up and shush him, basically. And then she's laughing because
like she immediately felt like I maybe shouldn't have done that.
Maybe that's not what I should have
She
done.
even says no. That's great.
No.
Yeah. No. Stop it. Stop
I
it.
mean, to be fair to Sophie, sometimes Eric does deserve a shushing and a stern
Yeah, that's
no.
fine.
Like,
Listen, I enjoy Sophie Sass.
rubbing his nose in the poop he made on the floor.
It was fine. It was just funny. Made me laugh. And I very much appreciate that BC is capturing these moments for all posterity and giving me one more thing to put in my little row of GIFs to drop into the video at any given time. I sent Schnars a cell phone picture once of the row on my desktop of all Schnars pictures that I used for the video. It was like 5 pictures.
We posted that on our Instagram.
Oh yeah,
because,
okay,
of
yeah.
course,
Yeah, it's pretty good.
to the internet.
Super creepy.
Pretty good.
Can a bitch get a donut? Sorry.
All right, so that's actually it for fan mail. Info at bloodygoodhorror.com. We're also on Twitter at BGHorror with a hashtag AskBGH. Mark, before you read here, can you just tell me what the first one is so I make sure I have the right one?
It's from Chase TX.
Got it.
Are you sure you got the first one?
That's the one I got.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
We'll go through, John. You can vet and you can send them through if I miss any, okay?
No, I closed them out after I send them because that's my system. I have a system, Mark.
You did the Lord's work. We're good. All right, this first one is from Chase TX. Best Miike film. I've only seen a few, but 13 Assassins was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we sort of addressed.
I mean,
it.
of the ones I've seen audition, but I haven't really seen enough to say. So I've never
My
seen
favorite
Ichi
that
the
I've
Killer.
seen- Yeah, Ichi is pretty great, and especially like Eric's talked about before, when you discover some, like getting exposed to an American audience. When I first saw Ichi, the only Japanese horror flicks I'd seen were like The Ring and stuff like that, which I found kind of dull just because of the pacing of them. And so this Ichi was something that was completely different, and it was like, oh crap!
It's a very different movie. Yeah, I do remember at the time just like seeing stills from it in magazines and shit, and being like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah,
yeah. Like I have a bootleg of it somewhere, like a bootleg VHS that I got at a convention. Like that was one of those movies.
Oh yeah,
it's like dude selling it with weird porn and stuff. Is it worth going back
You're
to?
like, I'll throw in some weird porns with this.
Ichi the Killer or weird porn?
Ichi the Killer.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd say check it out again. I saw it. It's been probably like 7 years, so I might check it out too.
And due to what is it, Rule 34, there probably is a weird porn of Ichi the Killer out there if you looked hard enough.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's
We
next?
good with that?
Yep.
Next one is Metal Prof.
Got it.
Wouldn't a better name for this movie have been Yakuza Lips?
Yes.
Yes.
Sure.
It kind of reminds me of Donkey Lips.
Something reminded me of Donkey Lips last week, and I can't remember what it was. I don't know.
This is probably me.
We were talking about lips, and then I just thought of Donkey Lips.
There you go. I often think of Donkey Lips. All right. This next one was not an SBGH, but I snuck it in, so hopefully Eric's got it. It's from Very Amateurish P.
Yep.
Would anyone on the podcast trade a baby for a penguin? What if it's not your baby and a really cute penguin?
Penguins are pretty cool. And if it's not,
I mean, they're probably just messy to take care of. Is the problem?
That's fair, right? Like
Yeah.
if we consider what a normal
the
bird
baby
shit
or the
looks like.
penguin?
Wow.
I went to the aquarium here in Boston a few years ago and was watching the penguin pen or whatever, like little aquarium. They shit all over each other. Like literally, they were getting up on a rock so they could shit on each other. I was like, that's fucking foul.
Yeah. Now my kid loves penguins, so like we go to the penguin room at the zoo a fair bit, and
They're adorable.
They're super adorable.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Just shit everywhere.
They shit a lot. Yeah, they're pretty heavy shitters in the animal kingdom. All right. Next one is
that's a maybe.
Yeah, that's maybe. Next one is from Nerd. Yeah. Inconclusive. This is from Nerds of Gore. Have any of you seen the horror musical The Devil's Carnival? I was pleasantly surprised. It's a D.L. Bousman flick.
Oh, Darren Lynn Bousman. So he made another musical?
Yeah, because he did that other one, didn't he?
Oh, yeah. Yes, he did that one. Repo.
I heard that, Mark. Don't worry.
Yeah, thanks, John. I see you.
Is D.L. Bousman like? Do people like?
I think she ran. No, she ran out of characters on Twitter.
Okay, that's clever then. Because I was like, what?
Honestly, the last time I thought about Darren Lynn Bousman was when Repo came out, and he was getting super salty about the bad reviews and like talking shit about reviewers and stuff.
So. I do not like that movie. I just don't.
Poor Paul Sorvino. Like, I just feel like he doesn't even know what the fuck he's doing in that movie. Like singing. Yeah. It's like, well, come on. He was in Goodfellas.
Oh, I see. It's called Alleluia, The Devil's Carnival. Yeah, I haven't seen it.
I hadn't even heard of it.
Paul Sorvino's in that. He plays the role of God.
Okay, all right. I'm
literally
back in.
credited as God.
I will say that of his movies, I do actually like the Mother's Day remake.
Did he do that? I forgot. Yeah, Mother's Day was okay. Yeah.
And Saw 2 is not the worst movie I've ever seen. So that's about it.
It's not even the worst Saw movie I've seen.
Mother's Day turns into like it's basically like a home invasion flick, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys remember 11-11-11?
Yeah.
I did not. I dodged that.
It was not good.
I'm fairly certain I blacked out for the entire movie and the podcast that we did about it.
Not great.
I can't remember a fucking thing about that.
I think that's like a self-preservation mechanism from what I understand.
Yeah.
He's got a movie called Abattoir coming out, which
it's like when a
is
penguin shits all over itself.
When a penguin
just to avoid having another penguin shit on him. He's just like, I just did it myself. Just leave me alone.
God, they really
I am
shit
covered in
so
shit.
much.
Proactive pooping.
Seriously, I didn't even think about it until you brought it up. And anytime I've ever seen penguins in a zoo situation,
I'll just never forget it. Like there was a guy in there feeding him and stuff, and I'm
fucking
just
pasty white shit apocalypse.
To watch them, like one of them, like they just one by one kept going up in the rock and then shitting down onto the whole group of penguins, and I was like, am I watching some kind of weird like scat porn right now or something?
No, I think it's just a culture you don't understand.
That's fair, man. That's what this episode's about, clearly.
You know, I've never been a penguin. I don't even have any good friends that are penguins, so I just don't understand penguin.
I did see that movie that one time with that guy with the beak and the turtle shell on his back, but that was about
Some
it.
of my best friends are penguins. All right, this is
I watched about a quarter of that Morgan Freeman penguin movie before I fell asleep because his voice is so goddamn calming.
Yeah.
March of the Penguins.
I'm sure he did not talk nearly enough about how much penguins shit on each other in that movie.
Pooping.
None of us are going to be able to do a good Morgan Freeman impression. This next one's for Blue State Pod. What's the status of the monthly video spinoff, John?
Oh boy!
I can tell you that we recently had extensive discussions about it.
I mean, the problem is we've had extensive discussions a couple times. We've actually sketched out like extensive sketches for it. The biggest challenge is getting it scheduled, and so we've been trying to land on a schedule that's doable. I mean,
it's not going to be all of us. Like it's probably going to be a lot of other of the cast of characters of BGH with us kind of popping in and out.
Yeah, we're trying to we want to find the right mix of getting our voices, but then also working in some other voices and doing something that's different enough from the regular, like we don't want it to be a review podcast, so we're trying to figure out what that looks like, that it's not a review podcast. If you have feedback around things that you'd like to see, let us know. Shoot us a little email You know?
Maybe we could review some penguin footage, you know?
I mean,
Or you can
we
have a
could
shit
do that.
party.
That's disgusting.
So, but
Word.
yeah,
That update.
we have not forgotten about it. We're holding ourselves accountable for it, and we are somewhat sorry for the delay.
We are partially sorry for the delay.
I mean,
I'm actually
yeah.
sorry. I feel bad.
No, I would say I was more sorry, but I've been responsible for shipping all of the t-shirts out, which was
Listen,
it's
I've
still
had
a
at
lot of
least
work.
3 different ideas for the show that I was ready to rip on, and then you guys tore down. So I
No, that's not 100% true.
that's
Let's
at
just
least
say that
80%
John-
true.
Now
Should
when
we-
John watches Elf, he looks at that mailroom scene and he understands why that guy's drinking.
It's too close to home.
Should we do a quick preview of our new limited edition sticker that Mark ordered?
yeah.
Sure. For all 10 of
All right.
them, 10 of the people
Yeah,
watching.
for anyone who catches this on the video live stream, I'm going to be displaying the new BGH sticker,
Can
which
you get
will be
it right
going
up
out.
to the lens there and hold it still? There you go. Tie-dye, my friend.
Okay. Maybe we'll drop something in the Instagram with it. Yeah, it's a tie-dye BGH logo. Pretty pumped about it. I think it's gonna go.
Can I
It's gonna
get
be.
one of those?
We'll see. See how
Can
I
I
feel.
finish? It's
can I finish?
Yeah, I was feeling particularly chilly in Chicago, and I was thinking, what would warm me up? How about we put a little tie-dye color spin on these BGH stickers?
No, so as a heads up for folks, anyone who's joined Patreon with us through December should have their T-shirt by now. And if you don't, there's like 2 or 3 people I need to ship out. There was some issues with what we got delivered and yada yada. You'll get them soon. I'm gonna be sending out like a new survey for anyone to get the sizes and everything. Anyone who's pledged recently, and then doing a bunch of stickers over the next couple of weeks because I basically was out of stickers is what it comes down to, and so stuff will be going out soon. So
I'll also say, as you get your T-shirts, and since he's been sending them out again, make sure you tweet us your pictures of you and your shirt. We're enjoying seeing those on Twitter.
oh yeah, we got a couple.
Yeah, also, if anyone has a spare medium, send it my way because I have a small and it is made for a baby.
I'll take your small.
We'll get you a medium one of these days, Mark. I promise.
All right. Who do I have to shit on around here to get a medium T-shirt?
Oh, well, might as well keep trying until you figure it out.
Yeah,
Who's
Miike
next?
does weird stuff to our brain.
Who do I have
This
to
next one's a
shit
good one. This is from Coastality. Sorry, it's a running joke in our house that I like fucking scream during the podcast, and we have very thin walls, so I can't wait to justify what I just said when I leave this room after recording. This one's from Coastality. If you could banish just one single horror trope from every movie for the rest of time ever, what would it be?
Easy. Door
the
opens by itself from a ghost. Slowly creaks open.
No, I'm totally okay with that one.
Nope.
Keeping it.
Go.
Yeah.
Because once you do that, I know where your movie's going. So just like let's skip to the third act till you actually try to scare me. Let's just get rid of the horse shit.
I'm probably gonna go with mirror jump scares, like anything that involves mirrors.
Even
and
the
jump
fake
scares.
outs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
go
The
with-
fake outs especially.
I would go with running upstairs when being chased by a slasher killer.
Yeah. That one's just fun, you know.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Well, you could have more fun if they're chasing you outside around the countryside, though. Come on.
I'm gonna throw out it's a very, very specific one. We already sort of talked about it, but the trend of begooling, particularly in modern supernatural movies where they have like one last jump scare right before the credits happen.
Like breaking
I
the
could,
fourth wall and
yeah, I could totally like be in love with a movie and that would almost ruin it. Like it just leave. I don't know.
I always go, oh.
I'm very curious to see like who the moviegoer is that they see that and they're like, yes, that really sealed the deal. Because for me, it's the exact opposite. I'm like, oh fuck, you were doing fine.
Fuck
and
you.
Now I hate this.
I shit on this movie.
Yeah.
No, I just shit in my seat.
I shit on it
because I'm a penguin.
We went real scatological this episode, huh, guys?
Yeah, well,
sure did.
Damn,
it happens.
Oh.
Shockingly, there's no weird poopy stuff in this movie. I kind of expected some.
I mean, there is like weird I don't know though. I thought the brained pus shit shooting out of that woman's ears was like the most disgusting.
That was
fucking
real weird. And at one point, like, there's barely any attempt to hide the fact that it's just like a rubber tube like taped up the back of her head, where she's just like, shh, like you can tell they're just pumping it on the other end, and it's just like spraying out. Like, all right, man, I get it. I know Tom Savini is too.
I mean, it's just weird to think that like there are legitimate. Well, I don't know, like legitimate relative to other Japanese actors and actresses, but like there are people that are in these movies, and they get the stage direction that like pus is going to shoot out of their ears, and they're like, okay, that's cool.
I expected this. I'm ready.
Yeah, this is specifically what I signed up for.
Do I get a beak also? No. Okay.
Sure.
Do I have to hold the beak in my mouth? No. Okay. Last one is from Sean Sendio01. There was talk of remaking The Hunger way back in 2009. Would you watch the remake? # Bowie's tight little caboose.
It's quite a butt on that guy.
Summer baby.
I mean, I'd watch it, but I don't know how anybody do it justice.
Right.
I just flipped to this guy's background.
It's such a. I mean,
I actually would 100% feel like that's a movie that could stand a remake, with the caveat that it would like have to be the right director.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing too
that's
is
true.
like
Most of them, right?
it is such a like 80s goth moment in time. I feel like the modern equivalent, it would have to be like a fucking like EDM movie with weird vampires,
Sure.
right? Like
Yeah. Sure.
you have to think of like a.
Although to be fair,
you have
Mark,
to think of like a
there are still
subculture
goths.
analog. What's that?
There are still goths.
That's true, but it's just not as much of a thing.
not
as
as
it was.
mainstream.
Haven't you seen that video of all them dancing under the train tracks while the Thomas the Tank Engine song plays?
That was from like the early 2000s.
Whatever, but that's modern times. They're still around.
Oh,
It will never not make me laugh. That's so good. Really good. You know what's funny? If not, that video is the only reason why I could pick the Thomas the Tank Engine song out of a lineup. Like I
know.
I don't think I've ever legitimately even watched that show. So I don't know.
All I'm
That's
saying
it
is
for
goths
Twitter.
never die. As long as there's hot topics, there will be goths.
They're more emo
That's
now.
true. Although Eric
there's
and I-
crossover. I
Eric's
agree.
fronting like we didn't go into a fucking hot topic while we were waiting for
to look at Pops, okay?
to look at Pops.
Yeah, and they
Eric
had a
was
whole
like,
wall.
man,
Did you guys see that they're making
These
Golden
fans have
Girl
a lot of-
Pops?
yes. I did.
what?
Yeah, I did.
Look
I-
awesome.
I'm more
I did
excited
not.
about that than I should be.
Oh my god.
They're making some pretty sweet dark crystal ones too. Like I was thinking about this today because I follow Funko on Instagram. Like whenever
you were
they
thinking
came-
about Pops, you were just like, Pops, what about
Well, no, I'm just thinking like they like land, because they post like different lines of toys that they do, and I'm like, that's stupid. But then I see a pop, and I'm like, oh my god, they did a pop of a thing I like. Like they
went too
tapped
far.
in. They tapped in to like just like the weirdest cash cow thing ever, and like that's like good for them,
At the point that I
Like a
couldn't
real-
keep track
a
of
real
what
thing.
they had made, I sort of lost interest in collecting them. I do have like a bunch of Game of Thrones ones. Game of Thrones is like the one property that I've gone the hardest on. And other than that, it's just a bunch of random. Like I have some of the horror. They did some.
It's
new
all the boobs, right?
They did some new horror ones last year that are fucking awesome. Like they did an Exorcist one and Pinhead and
Yeah.
stuff.
I did see The Exorcist one earlier this week. It is pretty cool.
I mean, I just had this thought though that like the pop bubble has to burst at some point, right?
Wait,
Like,
did we tell a story
sometime-
about how our parents received a package of like 30 pops for Christmas? Do you remember that?
So
this
we
year?
didn't-
Wait, what?
Yeah, we did not tell this story. So as I get older and become more of an adult and buy my own shit, I find it way more difficult to ask for shit for Christmas. So I just have like an Amazon wish list of random shit, and it's like stuff that I would not justify spending money on, like pops. Like I'm not gonna, for the most part, I'm not gonna spend money on pops. But like if someone gets me one for Christmas, I'll put it on my desk at work. So I asked for like a Gremlins pop for Christmas, and I get like a message from my parents like, did you order like a dozen or however many of these pop figures? And as it turns out, they accidentally got sent a box of like a dozen like Freddy, Jason, and something else pops. Like
it was
they
like
just
10
have...
of each. It was Freddy, Jason, and Gremlin. It was the evil gremlin or whatever.
Right. And they're all a little bit fucked up. So I'm guessing that they just got sent all of these like defective ones, but like we still can't to this day cannot figure out where they came from or why they got them. And it's just so funny because my parents were just like so confused by
And
it.
Amazon, she got the refund, and Amazon was like, just fucking keep them. I don't know. Like, they just let her.
Yeah, we don't want them.
So I have at least 3 of them now.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Natch.
That's when you know you're a real nerd and you're like, no, mom and dad, I won't take these free pops because I already own all of them.
No, I took the one that I already owned, which was Jason, because I could have 2 Jasons. That's okay.
Dueling Jasons.
Can never have enough Jasons.
You can mod your own Jason Pop.
It's true.
Yeah, you can paint it. You can paint it like the NES one. That's like the popular thing to do with the different colors and that.
Yeah.
Do people paint Pops? I've seen the prototype ones.
Oh, yeah. Do people paint Pops?
I'm
you guys are off
curious.
the deep end.
Genuinely curious.
Like in my book, this is all off the deep end, just to be clear.
Oh, whatever, Schnars, being an adult over there. Okay, why don't you tell me how your 401k is doing, Dad?
I do think it's funny though that even me as a newly minted 42-year-old, I could walk through a store like a GameStop with a pop in my hand and look at their other line, those Dorbs, and say, "Oh, that's stupid."
Yeah, I'm not huge on the doors, but I like that they're kind of smaller. Like, I do like the smaller kind of form factor.
Eric, you can buy blank Pops and like just paint them completely yourself if you want.
Yeah, there's like prototypes or whatever that are all white.
Mm-hmm. Why they got to be all white?
Bet you John loves them. All right. What's next week?
Sure do.
What's next week?
Wait, hold on. John, did you have anything to do with Jeb Bush's domain now forwarding to Donald Trump's website?
So I then discovered that apparently it's been like that since the fall, but Trump was just tweeting about it again and like mocking Jeb Bush, and that's why it was going.
Yeah,
it was
has
trending.
Been like that. He uses Jeb 2016, which I know because I donated.
And he
like
has
50
multiple
times.
URLs that he doesn't own, and that he somehow couldn't get his shit together before the race to own them himself.
Yeah, it is pretty pathetic.
Are you really surprised at that?
Like,
Yeah,
bro,
it's
domains
it's
cost
peak. It's
$7.
basically peak. It's peak Jeb.
No,
Well,
well,
what it is that
someone owned it.
people
Like,
people were sitting on
someone
them.
had been squatting on it. Yeah,
But like, negotiate with them and fucking buy them. You know why? Because then you don't get embarrassed when you're trying to run for president and already look like a boob.
And when you have these like super PACs with like gajillion dollars, just have them do it. It's ridiculous. Whatever. No, I don't.
I should buy Jeb.wtf and just forward it to his site.
Jeb.lol.biz.
I'm just going to go to Jeb.wtf and see what happens.
Clownpenis.fart.
Oh, it just forwards me to GoDaddy. Oh, it expired on 1/14/2016 and is pending renewal or deletion.
Nice.
Hello.
Boom.
Poor Jeb.
Get it.
I think we're done.
Selection's gonna fucking kill me this year. I can't take this selection.
No,
already.
but Eric, next week we have a little movie called The Witch.
Nice.
The Witch.
Is it the witch or the vitch?
Yeah, the Witch. I can't wait. Cece's gonna join us because she is a witch.
Unconfirmed, but likely.
She does have that plague mask.
I hope it's good because, I mean, we're all pretty excited about it. Cece is excited about it on a level that I can barely comprehend. So it better be good because I think it might break her.
In my head, I just think for something
pretty
that
stoked.
highfalutin looking to make it into theaters, I have to think it's good. Because horror movies like that do not see theatrical. It looks so
Man,
artsy.
I fucking hope so. I just think it's so cool because like it is such a uniquely American kind of mythos and that sort of
Well,
thing.
for
So
what
I
it's
just think
worth,
it's
it's got a lot of buzz around here too because it's like basically local. It's like people up here like love that all that New England folklore shit. So
my fucking grandma was a witch.
Yeah.
I like CC, so I hope it turns out as good as she wants it to be. But I also see the potential of a really funny like Star Wars nerd moment where she's mad because they didn't get the details quite right.
Yeah, the witchery. There was.
They used the wrong alchemicals.
I gotta say it's a kick-ass trailer, so I'm looking forward to it. So The Witch out in theaters, United States, nationwide this weekend. Check it out. We're also on the internet. We own our own domain, unlike Jeb Bush. BloodyGoodHorror.com. Mark, what was the review today on BloodyGoodHorror.com?
Oh my god! Well, I had the website up the whole time, and then I just closed it, so I'm gonna bring it up. So we've got today's reviews that went live today as we're recording this are Frankenstein Created Woman and Hangman. Luke just recently wrote a review of the Cabin Fever remake. Spoiler alert, not a terribly favorable review, but worth reading nonetheless. We have reviews of The Battery, Near Dark, Freaks of Nature, The Hollow, and the Purge election year trailer. That's all stuff that kind of went up in the past week or so.
Nice.
But we have new reviews every day. We're still coming up with lists. Andrew is one of our newer writers. I mentioned this last week, did the top 5 horror shows from the 50s. And I think he's actually wrapped up his top 5 horror shows from the 60s. So that should be going live either on the Friday you're hearing this or early next week. And we're just going to keep pumping out the reviews.
Great.
Pretty fun.
BloodyGoodHorror.com. And if you want to find out how you can be watching this video, seeing this sick Sophie gif either after the fact or live while we record, check out patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. That's going to do it for us this week, guys. I didn't put the music on yet, so I'm going to do that right now.
Do 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 do
Whoop, whoop.
do 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 do.
I'm just going to let Mark keep going. I kind of like his rendition. Next week, The Witch. Well, and then what? Who's the next staff bag? I just would like to know that here before we wrap.
I think Joe.
Joe with the peanut butter. Am I last? No, I thought I was second to last.
You guys are going to have to Rochambeau for it.
I have the schedule up that we locked in, and Peanut Butter Solution is after The Witch.
I
Sorry.
fucking hate you guys.
Also known as Unternehmen or just
Yeah.
butter. BT dub.
There you go.
Fine, whatever. I'm not bitter, but I'm a little bit bitter. That's it, guys. Bloody Good Horror. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll talk to you next week.
Adios.
See yous.
Bye-bye.